Welcome. Lovely to see you, Holger and Nathan. Hi, Eric. Frank, hello, Frank. And Shay, hello, Shay. So it is delightful to be singing of the birds. The body relaxing. The mystery of breath. And the wonder of presence. This recognition. Presence, recognizing itself in this spaciousness of peace. Being nobody in particular. And yet the joy of hearing the birds singing. The joy of being. Not trying to attain anything or prove anything or demonstrate anything. And somehow the universe is manifesting itself in the spaciousness of awareness. There is no one exerting any effort. Thoughts appear to you like the singing of the birds appear to you in the same manner, in the same space. In the same space where the sun shines through the window. In the same space of hearing these words right now. There is no separate entity anywhere to protect, to defend, to advance. Whenever we imagine ourselves needing protection, we've erroneously defined ourselves as somebody, as something, as someone. And we immediately experience worries and concerns. And we struggle to find a way out. But it's an internal mirage that we are struggling with. It's an inner realm of confusion and feelings of entrapment. Which are the result of a false belief, a false understanding about the reality of being, my reality, the reality of I, the reality that hears these words. And whatever decisions that we make that are rooted or that are affected by this belief will only deepen the sense of lack and the angst, the emotions, negative emotions that we experience, this sense of lack, this desire to attain something. So we turn our attention to our assumption about ourselves. What are you assuming yourself to be? Yourself meaning what? In this moment, what is I? What is my reality? Is it not this transparent, aware presence? That is free, joyful, undefined, takes on the form of this conversation. Takes on the form of perception, sensation, playfully, freely, joyfully. When I say I, what am I referring to? Am I referring to some object, some structure, some imaginary entity? Am I assuming that I is a male form, a female form, a brother, a son, a father, daughter? To notice this assumption, that the heart of this assumption is the sense of a separation and limitation as you define yourself objectively, phenomenally. But you don't need to define yourself in any way to hear these words in presence, in being right now, in this moment. All is well as it is, without needing the mind to structure your reality. Which it cannot do. So I'm available for the universe to decide through this body-mind, maybe this body-mind dancing with the universe, which is, it's not separate from it. The universe dancing as this body-mind. Sunrise, sunset, thoughts, perceptions, memories. The wind blowing in the yard, the sound of a dog barking in the distance. All one movement, one flow. A thought appearing, saying, yes, go in that direction. And the next thought appearing, saying, no, maybe not. Maybe not now. It's all the universe's dance, the cosmic dance, Shiva's dance. And at the heart of it all, the understanding that nothing is happening to I awareness, I consciousness, nothing. Because I is the formless reality of everything, of the world, of the body, the mind, one reality. That which is irrespective of circumstances and situations. That which is the source of all phenomena. The perceiver in chief, the one and only perceiver. So any questions you have, anything that you'd like to explore, please make sure you unmute your mic. Hi, Shai.
Yes. Hi, is it okay if I ask a question?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Great to be here again.
Nice to see you.
On the last satsang you gave, you mentioned, I said, it's too bad we can't see awareness in the physical world, because if we could see it, then everybody would go free in an instant. But you explained to me that awareness is not an object, and that's why we can't see it. However, you said that there is. You said if I ask myself, am I aware or do I perceive? Then yeah, of course. And I don't have to go to the memory to know that I am aware or that I perceive. So that's one very helpful tip you gave me and everybody else last time. Now, so my question is: are there any more pointers like this one that can help us feel awareness, even though we can't see it in the real world?
So awareness is our direct experience, our primordial experience. I, in this moment, is your direct experience. Before the thought, oh, I perceive the screen, or I perceive an itch in my leg, before that, before a sensation appears or a thought, before any content, I, in this moment, is always your experience. Your direct experience, your absolute experience. So, whichever way you refer to your experience, primary is I. Primary, in this moment, the primary experience is I. In this moment, your primary experience is I. It's not registered as a shape or a form or a color or a size. It's not registered in the mind. The mind appears in it. Hearing right now appears in I. Yes, the imprint of I, the imprint of awareness, is 100% also existing in the hearing, the sound. But the I, awareness, isn't arising from the sound. So therefore, you cannot look at any phenomenal experience as a demonstration of awareness. But yes, any phenomenal experience is a demonstration of awareness. In other words, it is awareness which is manifesting itself as a sound, a perception, a sensation. So in terms of the I am as a hint or as a reminder, let's say, of the reality of I, which stands on its own. It does not require thoughts or sensation or perception. It doesn't require that. When you say, am I? Yes, I am. A direct perception, a direct knowingness or understanding.
So basically, if I understand you correctly, the I is prior to any thought, feeling, sensation, perception. prior to everything, prior to everything, basically.
Yes, like the white light, when it goes through the prism, it diffracts into infinite colors.
Yeah.
But the white light is prior to the pink, the red, the blue, the yellow. It's prior. Not only is it prior, but it's also within. It's also manifesting itself as the rainbow of colors, as a metaphor. Now, in terms of your question about what other reminder can I have besides the I am, there is the fact of awareness. There is the fact of awareness. It's a fact. To sort of perceive the factness. The fact proves itself. It does not require an external proof. It's a fact. It stands on its own. It's a fact of awareness. Francis sometimes said that, just I'm paraphrasing here, that it's quite a wonder that there is awareness. The wonder of awareness. I'm just using the term, the fact of awareness. And also, we have an intuition. There is an intuition of reality. So contemplate what is the reality of this experience right now. What is the reality? What's the reality of the perception? Obviously, the perception must have a reality, otherwise there would be no perception. What is its reality? Not just the shape of the perception or the form of the perception or the duration of the perception. That's a different question. That's a more interesting question for scientists. But as a philosopher of consciousness, the question is, what is the reality of perception?
Wait, I'm sorry. Not the object of the, sorry, you were saying, what is the reality of the perception, but not the object of the perception? Like, become interested in the experience of perception and not the objects of perception? Did I understand correctly?
Well, I'm inviting you to contemplate what is the reality of experience.
That I'm always perceiving.
Huh?
That I'm always perceiving.
What is the reality of that which perceives? What is its reality? Not what are the qualities that I'm perceiving. Do you see the difference? Not what is the nature of what I'm perceiving, but what its reality.
Oh, the reality of
experience. What is the reality of my experience? So in terms of this question, you have to come to the understanding that when we're speaking about reality, we're speaking about that which is irrespective of time and space. And that which is unchanging across time and space. And that which does not depend on any external validation. It's valid unto itself. It doesn't depend on an experience. It doesn't depend on a certain situation. It doesn't depend on a certain vision.
And when you say explore that, you mean with direct experience, not with thinking, right? Because thinking is not going to get me there.
Well, whichever exploration is helpful, whichever exploration leads you in the direction of understanding is a good exploration. Nothing is excluded. As long as you find yourself progressing in your understanding.
Yes.
Now, in our experience, it's very simple. Our experience is thoughts, perceptions, sensations. But it's also, which are constantly changing.
Right.
But it's also, there is a changeless element to our experience. Yes?
Yes, that which perceives never changes, always the same.
Yes.
Been the same.
Yes. So there is one candidate that is changeless, which is whatever it is that perceives.
Yes. Yes.
And there is one candidate which is independent of time and space, whether it's 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the afternoon, whether it's Tuesday or Saturday. Whatever it is that perceive is independent of time and independent of space, right?
Yes, yes.
There is one candidate, which is whatever it is that right now hears these words. What is it? Whatever it is that right now perceives this perception. Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Now that which perceives this perception is I. Right now, experientially, I perceive this perception experientially. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. So there is an experience. Reality is experiential. Right now, in this moment, experiential.
Yes, it's not something I have to read I need to read in a book because I experience. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'll get this closer. It's not something I need to read in a book because I see it's a fact. It's a fact experientially.
Right. So reality is an experience. It's our experience.
Yes.
And this reality, which is our experience, is not male or female, is not inside the room or outside the room. It's not inside the brain or behind my eyes. Because thoughts appear within this reality. Perceptions appear within this reality. Sensations appear within this reality, right?
Yes, that's right.
So therefore, this reality is not located in the brain or in the eyes or in a thought or in a sensation, right?
Yes.
So it's non-local. So experientially, our experience of reality is experience of non-locality. Right?
Yes. Yes.
And also this reality, we cannot say that it starts 20 feet to the east and it ends 80 yards to the west, right?
Right. We cannot find the borders or where it begins and ends.
Yes. So experientially, this reality not only is non-local, it's also infinite, non-finite.
Yes.
And this is what we refer to as I. So the the sense of locality and finiteness are sensations that appear to us. They belong to the body. The body is located in the living room, in the kitchen, in the office. And the body is finite. It's 160 pounds, it's 5'8" tall, whatever. It is finite. So the sense of localization and the sense of finiteness belong to the body. They are appearances within non-local and infinite reality. You follow?
Yes, yes. I understand what you're saying.
So experientially, if you go to your experience, not to the content, but to the reality of your experience, you come to the understanding about consciousness, about the self, about freedom, about truth.
In other words, become as an inquiry. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
As another inquiry I can do, in one of many, I can become more interested in the reality that perceives rather than the objects of perceptions.
Yes.
Yes, I understand.
Yes.
I'll add this. I'll add this to my other
Yes.
inquiries.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Okay, say you're welcome. Any question?
Hey, Maggie, it's Frank here.
Hi, Frank.
Hey, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. I'm driving, so I don't want to put the video on because it'll be kind of distracting for everybody.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, I'm actually driving from New York to Boston. I was here for the weekend. So, and thanks to Holger for letting me know that your thing was early today, because I was going to attend, but I was going to be there at 5. So I'm glad Holger told me about it. Thank you, Holger. Anyways, and thank you, Maggie, for being here today.
Yes.
Yeah, so I got a question about see how I'm trying to figure out how to get into this question because it's kind of multi-sided. So I was listening to a video the other day with Francis, and he talked about something that really kind of blew my mind. I had never heard this before, but somebody asked a question about sleep and being aware during sleep. And Francis said that you can get to a point. Now, I'm not going to quote him because I don't remember the exact wording, but I'm going to paraphrase what he said. But it's something like that. You can get to a point in awareness, in your own awareness, that you can actually be awake while there's sleeping going on. Like awareness can be aware of the sleeping going on, and that some people are no longer can sleep. Again, this is paraphrasing. I may be misquoting him here, but I wanted to ask you what you thought about this. Have you heard about this phenomenon? Because it's kind of scary in a way to think that, you know, we become so, I guess, I mean, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It's the way it is. I mean, if awareness, get to a point where awareness is just totally aware, even while the body's sleeping. So basically he was saying that the body sleeps, but awareness, because it is always aware, is there. And we become more, I don't know how to put these into words, but do you know what I mean?
Yes, Frank.
Okay. All right. I'll let you go from here.
Yes. So the states of the mind, the waking state, the dream state, and the deep sleep state, these states, they are appearances, they are realms that appear within awareness. Right now, in this moment, it's a waking state. So in this waking state, there is that which appears. For example, the perceptions you're perceiving, the sensations you're perceiving, hearing these words. these appearances in this waking state, they appear within awareness. In other words, there is a screen of awareness or the background of awareness. So in the waking state, similarly in the dream state, the perceptions, sensations, and thoughts, and whatever dream experiences we have, which are more, let's say, more chaotic, more fluid, they dissolve much faster than in the waking state. Also, in the dream state, the dream state appears within the background of awareness. Yes? Similarly,
Yes.
Yeah, and in the deep sleep state, similarly, the deep sleep state, which is a very, very dimmed down, the perceptions, sensations, thoughts are dimmed down, very, very, very low. That state too, which we refer to as a dream, the deep sleep state, also arises in the background of awareness. In other words, all states arise within the background of awareness. Now, consciousness, or the background of awareness, or the background of consciousness, is not appearing. It's not discontinuous. It's not like suddenly there is consciousness A, and then there is a gap in the consciousness B, and there is a gap in consciousness C. There is a gap. There aren't different consciousnesses. There isn't the awakened state consciousness, the dream state consciousness, and the deep sleep state consciousness. No, there is only one consciousness, one reality, one beingness, one Satchitananda. There is only one reality. And that reality experiences all states. It experiences the deep sleep state, the waking state, and the dream state. It does not sleep. It does not wake up. It does not go to sleep. It does not dream. It does not. It is like the mirror. The mirror, which reflects all images. It can reflect a fire, or it can reflect a beautiful sky, or it can reflect a thunderstorm, or it can be reflect any conversation. It reflects all sorts of images, but in itself, it is image free. In itself, the mirror is beyond the fire, beyond the thunderstorm, beyond the clear sky, beyond the conversations. As a metaphor. So yes, in our contemplation, initially we are experiencing ourselves very much as a body-mind. We're somebody, and this somebody is identification with the body-mind. So I is the body-mind. Initially, I is the body-mind. So when the body-mind is sleeping, then I am sleeping. When the body-mind is sick, then I am sick. When the body-mind is dreaming, then I am dreaming. There is identification with the situations of the body-mind. So consciousness is identified as the body-mind, and the experience from that perspective is that, yeah, of course I am sleeping. Meaning consciousness, I'm sleeping. At least from that perspective. I, consciousness, I'm dreaming. I, consciousness, I'm sick, because of the identification with the body-mind. As the identification with the body-mind thins out, and there is an understanding about awareness and an experiential shift from being identified as a man, as a person, as the body, that as the I am driving, as this identification loosens, you will find that the body-mind, the experiences which we refer to as the body-mind, they're like floating, they're like clouds appearing in the sky. In the sky, is not, nothing is happening to the sky. The sky is not defined by the cloud, whatever shape they take. And in time, yes, the experience of being is uninterrupted. There is the experience of being, which we experience as, the universal being, that I'm somebody, universal being, that I'm somebody, universal being, that I'm somebody. Then that I am somebody, the limitation, the nullification becomes less and less frequent and less of shorter duration. And at some point, there is no longer an interruption in the experience of being. And so from that experience, you do not sleep. I, consciousness, do not sleep. And experientially, there isn't an interruption in presence. So there are states that appear within presence, but presence is no longer interrupted. It's no longer interrupted, meaning it's no longer identified or identifying itself with an entity or with some object. Then, yes, you could, your dreams change drastically. There are still dreams that appear, but they're like just neutral appearances. They don't have much of an import. I actually find that there are, at some point in the early morning, I mean, in the 2 a.m., maybe 2 to 4 a.m., there is also, there are insights. There are insights that appear, that pertain to reality, that pertain insights about consciousness and all sorts of insights. It's an insightful time, and the 2 to 4:30 in the morning. But above all, in the dream state as well as in the waking state, the sense of me is absent. There isn't a me experience. There's an experience of perceptions and all sorts of movements, but it's very thin. It's very pastel. It's pastel-like.
Maggie, that's so amazing. This brought up so many questions to me when I heard him say this, because I've always had this, I've had a lot of questions about dreams in the past too. Like, I realized, and actually I had kind of a realization that when he said that we are aware during sleep because of the dream, because when we, it's just the fact that there's a dream going on and we remember the dream, that's an awareness. I never really put two and two together. I always thought we're completely out, and then we just kind of come to again when we wake up. But then realizing that we remember dreams, that means that we were aware during those dreams, which brought up another question. Is a dream, when you wake up in the morning and then you remember a dream, are you actually remembering a dream, or are you having that dream? Is that dream coming up for the first time, but in the form of a memory? That also, have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, well, in the dream is perception at that moment. So in the moment that there is a dream, that there is a certain appearance, a dream appearance, at that moment, obviously there is awareness. There is at that moment awareness. So there is no dream without awareness. Now there can be a dream without memory. In other words, there is no dream without awareness, but there can be a dream without memory. So it's possible and that's very much my case. I don't remember too much the dreams, and it's rarely, I know that there are dreams. I sort of get a little fleeting memories, and even as in the midst of the dream, I realize there's this dreaming going on, but it sort of dissolves really quickly. So so memory is an actual appearance at that moment within awareness. So like, for example, right now, if I remember my dream of one of a tidbit of last night's dream, it is of course a fresh, new, brand new appearance, a brand new perception within awareness right now. Now, I'm not saying that there isn't a correlation between this brand new appearance right now and the dream appearance from last night. There may be some correlation, maybe memory about pink flying elephants, or if you dreamt of Francis, then there is a memory of something, some correlation. But although there is a correlation, every experience, every moment, awareness is fresh. Awareness is not in time. So it's completely fresh, moment by moment. So whatever you recollect in this moment about last night's dream is a fresh, brand new dream, brand new appearance, brand new experience. So I do not.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I just said, oh wow, because that throws a whole new monkey, what like a whole new thing in the works here, kind of.
Well,
anyway, I it gets me more confused. But go ahead.
Well, our experience is always right now. Yes, it's always fresh right now. Whenever you're here right now, you've never heard these words before. You've never experienced this experience before, or even though you have gone to 50 satsangs before and you recognize something that Magdi is saying that you've heard before. In spite of that, in this moment, these words that you're hearing are fresh, 100%, 1,000% fresh, brand new experience, right?
Yeah. Right.
So therefore, whatever quotes unquote memory, meaning some experience you're having that relates to last night's dream, is also arising in this moment in the same manner, 1,000% fresh. So when you drive to your home, you recognize your home because you've driven to your home 1,000 times. You know the color of your home, you know the address of your home, you know the shape of your home. You come home. Although in this perception, this brand new perception of your home is 100% brand new, it correlates to the past. It correlates to previous perceptions of your home. So although I'm not denying that there isn't a correlation or a recognition of in this moment of your home, but still there is a fresh, brand new perception of your home right now.
So Maggie, that's so far. When I get home, and I have a memory, like I get home and I go, oh, I remember. Of course, I'm not saying this consciously, but unconsciously, I'm like, this is my home because I remember it from yesterday. This is how it looks. That's coming in fresh.
Yes.
But, so there is, okay, so, but there's something that tells me that I've seen it before. So that's also just an appearance, right?
Yes, yes. Memory, the way memory operates is that it appears in the moment. It's in the moment it's appearing to you as, like, for example, when you're driving home, I don't know, different people have different ways. The way this brain operates is that it creates an image. It operates with images. So when I'm driving to a certain location, even though I've been there many times before, there is a guiding image that is sort of guiding the driving, and this image, of course, has has been appearing on numerous occasions. And when I'm going to different locations, it's a different image. But I'm going to the same location over and over. It's the same image. But the image that's appearing is fresh in this moment.
Yes. Yeah, because there's only now, so it has to be that way. Because otherwise,
it is fresh.
Right?
it's a sort of like a, one could say it's a sort of a certain pattern of neurons that are sort of firing together, and there is something that triggers them. For example, the thought, okay, well, I'm going to drive home now. It's time for me to go home, and then there are various neurons, channels of neurons that fire to locate where your car is, where your keys are, and whether you're going to make a right turn here or a left turn here. All of that is already sort of, there are already connections, there are already patterns within the brain that can fire together, sort of connect together to lead you to your destination. And it's constantly firing, it's constantly operating freshly. I mean, there's a red light, it fires, okay, red light, and so there is a response. So there's a whole, it's very dynamic, and it's very alive. Life is not in the past, life is in presence, is presence. Life is reality, is consciousness playing, dancing, the dance of Shiva. So the life as we experience it, meaning the world and our perceptions and so on, is how consciousness is choosing to appear this moment by moment, freshly. So it's really lovely because once you come to an understanding about the freshness, then there is a freedom from the past. And in your relationship with people, you're no longer, you're not holding on to the past. Of course, there is the past. There are images and certain neuron patterns that appear to you in relation to other people. But because of your understanding about consciousness, about how consciousness is brand new, it's creative, it can change, it can alter, it can end a huge storm like that. It can sort of end the storm. It can shift the winds. Once you realize infinite potential of awareness, you're no longer holding on to specific beliefs about things. You're more fluid.
Yeah, I've been experiencing that, Maggie, because I even like you were talking about driving. Like I now, like when I drive like long distances, the minute I get an image about how I see this place according to how I saw it yesterday or a year ago or whatever, I just get that out of my mind. I just say, no, I don't want to look at it that way. I want to see it in fresh, new. Yeah. And it really is it's like a whole new experience. It's really it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yes,
you're not tied into all these, because I used to put everything of me into what I saw. Like if I felt bad about myself, everything around me looked bad. Now I'm like, I'm want to see everything new and fresh. Yes. And it's really, it's a whole new adventure.
Yeah, that's nice. There's a freedom in that, I remember, like, for many years I used to suffer from the impression of time is, oh my God, the weekend is over, Monday is coming, and that habit.
Yeah. And Sunday night blues. Yeah, the Sunday night blues. Exactly.
Right. Sunday night blues. Interesting term. Yes. I used of course I don't experience that anymore. But there is freedom in the freshness of experience. In sort of sometimes it may seem odd, like you may not even know what day it is, or even you may have flashes of like, oh my God, where am I? I mean, you may be in your kitchen and. I'm not emphasizing that, but there could be even flashes of seeing your kitchen for the first time. But that's insignificant. But yes, there is a freedom in the freshness of being.
Yes. Yeah, this is great. Thanks, Maggie. I got a lot more questions, but I'm going to wait.
Okay.
So thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, Frank. Be safe. Take care.
I will. Thanks. Thank you. I'll be listening.
Okay.
Magdi.
Hey, Eric.
Hi. I just wanted to share something related to what Frank was asking about. So I'm going to hide my self view here. It's less distracting.
It's nice to see you, though. Okay.
You too. This is kind of funny. I had a misunderstanding about. I had heard the same thing that Francis had said about sleep. That something like the sage never sleeps, or however it was phrased. I don't remember. I never sleep, or
Right.
doesn't experience sleep. And I thought that I see now that I thought I interpreted it as being about states, that there was a change in states. And as you notice, there can be a change in states, but that's not, as I understand it now, that's not what he was pointing to. And I had a recent experience that demonstrates, that showed me this. I had a surgery about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I was going to go under anesthesia, and I was a little bit concerned because of that, what he said, that, gosh, since I'm more open to awareness now, however you want to say it, that I might feel something during the surgery. I might be too aware. So a little bit of a worry flashed through me. And plus I had the question of, okay, what happens, if awareness is always on, or is eternal, however you want to say it, what happens during anesthesia? That was like the first question I had for Francis when I came there was, well, if awareness is always on, what about anesthesia? And so, of course, there was nothing to worry about. There was, I have a memory of coming out of anesthesia, of that state, but it's laughable in the sense it's so obvious now that there's no gap in awareness. That's the point of view from the outside, looking at bodies that are doing things that, yeah, they're now no longer sentient. But from the perspective of awareness, the absolutely subjective awareness, there's no gap. That's from the point of view of the mind. Like if we say there's a gap between thoughts or whatever, it's from the point of view of the mind, there's gaps. But there can be no gap in awareness. It's always now. It's, even if we say eternal, it kind of implies a past and a future, but we get beyond words here, yeah. Or the ability to express the reality.
Right. My experience of the anesthesia experience is that there is mind, there is, they're rolling you on the bed and they think, okay, now we're going to count to 10 backwards. So there is 9, 7, 6. And next thing I know, there is sounds, and then awaking meaning the eyes open. I see the nurse. I see, and that was like according to the if you look at the clock, an hour went by. But in terms of the experience, my experience is there is mind, and sort of it seems that sort of like it dwindles, but then there is mind again. So it's. But in terms of
there is no gap.
There is no gap, right? But there is a shift in mind, in that at one the pre anesthesia, they're counting 9, 8, 7, 6, and post anesthesia, and you're waking up, and the nurse says, "How are you doing?" And, yeah, I'm doing okay, but whatever, But if you look at our experience of mind, it's constantly changing. Like there is a time, like in the night dream, it's really interesting. In the night dream, within 3 minutes, if I take a clock and I'm doing a dream study, and you're in bed and you're dreaming, and I have you wired to the EEG, whatever, and I'm watching your brain patterns. In 3 minutes, there are all sorts of things happening. In the waking state, you need to maybe put the chronometer every 2 hours. Are things changing? Like right now, we're having satsang. In another 20 minutes, I'll be having a cup of tea, with Tara. So the waves, the patterns, the patterns of change in the waking state have a certain curvature, but in the dream state they have a different curvature. But in both cases, in both the waking state, the dream state, the deep sleep state, it's mind, meaning change. There's a changing aspect, the movement, the waves, the surface of the ocean, of the waves. But in terms of awareness, of being, of aware, there is no phenomenal experience of awareness. There isn't like a phenomenal saying, oh well, awareness is doing this or doing that. Nothing is happening to awareness. Something is happening on the surface of the ocean. The confusion in the medical field and in the human mind is again, yes, as you said, is to associate the body mind activities, how the body mind is appearing to
or the content, you could say.
Yeah, or the content
of experience.
The content of experience with consciousnness. So say, oh well, consciousness got interrupted for 40 minutes, but that's based on the assumption. Well, I think the false assumption that consciousness is phenomenal, that consciousness is actually that you can determine consciousness from what's happening at the level of the body mind, which of course is foolish, because consciousness isn't at the level of the body mind. It is at the level of reality. When you go to reality, of course, in our human society, we don't study. There's no philosophy of reality. It doesn't. It's Advaita, you could say, is the philosophy of reality, but it's so rare. I mean, in our society.
Yeah, and it's because of that confusion of it being mind-like.
Yes.
Or having to do with states.
Yes. Yes.
But speaking of states, it was very interesting. There was no counting down. It was just kind of a pleasant drifting off. It's very different these days. It's an IV. And it's like going to Happy Land. But it was more like the words I came up with later were waking down and not waking up. It was like, in the blissful reality state to body sensation state, there's a distant, coldness and sounds and kind of a speeded up thing of people talking, trying to make connections, even though it's all love. They don't know it, and they're trying to make connections, and I hear them talking. And so it was like waking down into this dimension or whatever, even though I know it's not a separate. It was very interesting. I don't know how to, there are different ways of framing that. You could say, oh well, that was the astral realm or something, but I don't get into those theories.
Who cares? I mean, the labeling is always at the mind.
The important thing was, reality is just is and is to be aware. You have to be, and You don't know that you're being unless you're aware. It's elemental.
We already are. I mean, isness already is. Isness already is. Beingness already is. So, and there is no beingness. There is no amness without knowingness. So it's already such it being knowing, beingness, knowingness already is. And it's just the understanding about beingness rather than being somebody and struggling with the somethingness of being, to sort of come to the understanding about beingness, that beingness is and knowingness is, and I is this beingness, knowingness. Whatever it is that knows is I. Whatever it is that is I. And that this beingness, knowingness is not personal. It's not. There's no phenomenal qualities to beingness, knowingness. So there's no possibility of personhood, that applies to beingness, knowingness, and that there is a freedom in this understanding. And
and the understanding is experiential. The experience, I guess it's I mean, there's that tricky word growth, but it seems like there is a deepening or broadening.
Absolutely, there is a deepening of the understanding and the more of a stability in our experience, so in stabilization in that understanding. It's not sort of something that we do, but there is a noticing of that, and it's sort of like a ripening, an inner ripening and inner maturing and growth. Definitely, Advaita requires a certain maturity. You can come to Advaita if you don't have a certain maturity. It may not be the shoe that would fit.
As I see it now, it's like being if there's an experience of getting so-called lost a little bit, coming back to what's true, what's always true, and doesn't have to do with feelings or even temporary thoughts. That is what you were saying is suggestive of that too, because you're not the maturity of not taking.
I think
looking towards what's always true. Is not how we're trained or raised, or that identification.
Right. But because of our ongoing, inquiry and our ongoing sincerity and honesty with ourselves and our ongoing interest, love for the true freedom, the true understanding, then we are an open vessel for the understanding. We're making ourselves completely available for the understanding, and our interest and our love and our exploration and our experiences in our life are we are on board to conduct these experiments as as that are aligned themselves with our understanding about consciousness, about the one reality. And so it's bound. I mean, it's bound to sort of the light becoming more and more, prevalent in our life, in our mind, in our body, in our actions.
And it seems like it. One of the things I was pondering as you were talking was what element of so-called choice, because I've noticed people can spend decades meditating or studying or listening to non-dual satsangs and are still very caught up in worries, desires, fears, whatever. So sages like Lester Levinson or teachers, whatever you call them, would say that it's a choice. So it must be consciousness making a choice, and yet it's not. Consciousness doesn't make a choice. So we use this word grace that, it's not a personal choice, something that just happens. And yet that is implying, it can imply that there's grace is out there and then it happens to us, or that, it's not something that any entity is doing. In other words, there's not non-grace, right? What we are is grace, in a sense.
Oh, well, yes, there is the visitation of grace. In other words, like, although yes, grace is God's whisper, God's reality. There is, at some point, what is required is a certain crack in the shell, a crack in the shell, so that God's light or the grace sort of, grace, God's whisper is heard. So grace is hearing God's whisper, but then there is so much more. There is hearing God's whisper, and then there is, well, already upon hearing God's whisper, there is a transformation. We are on the path, or there is some understanding where the mind hasn't come on board yet, but there is something has shifted, and it's in a way it's all God's doing, because if the God's whisper, is lost among the sound of the mind, among the busyness of the mind, then God's whisper it seems to not be there, but it's there somewhere in the middle of the chaos of the mind. So it's also via grace that somehow there is a recollection of God's whisper, and when there is a recollection of God's whisper, then there is again a brand new, a brand new interest and understanding, because God's whisper is speaking about truth, about joy, about causeless freedom and causeless happiness. Now, it varies. There are people who have a profound insight into truth, into universal consciousness, but the power, the power of the habit, and their tradition is too thick, so that after maybe a month, 2 months, or whatever, they somehow forget about God's message, and maybe come back, maybe are able to come back to it at some point in their life, or maybe not, or it's still there. There's been God's whisper, but it hasn't had the transformative effect that it can have within one's life, body, and mind. So life continues to be sort of like a roller coaster type of life. In some cases, there isn't much complication. There's not much complexity, and God's whisper somehow comes in, and it's because there isn't much complexity, or the vessel is more available, and so then there is more of a transformative effect. It may take some time because there are still vasanas to work on and sift through, but still within this lifetime, it's possible to come to a deeper, not just an understanding, but also a living understanding. Sometimes use the term amorphous stability in, as consciousness, as truth, as love. So grace, I am like I see grace as being so precious and available to us, and I'm very grateful for grace. Grace is actually universal. Grace is the entire realm, which is God's creation. It's all grace. I mean, there are God's imprint everywhere. In what they say, when we have the eyes to perceive and the ears to hear, we can perceive and hear God's message and God's body and God's being in everywhere and everything. But again,
I mean, one of the experiences I think of is the so-called glimpse. The experience is, and this is, according to the mind, I guess, coming in later, but the best way to describe it is of not holding. And I understand what you.
There are so many glimpses, Eric. Yes, there is the glimpse about not holding. There are so many glimpses. There are innumerable glimpses, and every glimpse.
Sure, it depends on what you call a glimpse. I mean, there's
moments of understanding about truth,
insight, or
insights about oneself, about
just openness and just seeing and just.
It's a glimpse is like seeing something that you haven't seen previously, or you haven't fully grasped previously about truth, about life, about yourself, about the world. So
I guess I was calling it, what I was calling a glimpse was more of an outstanding experience of pure awareness, where there was no person whatsoever.
Object. Yes.
That kind of stood out, from ordinary glimpses.
Right. Yeah. I get it. So there is.
But so along those lines, let me share that, like, the experience of sharing meditation with, or even on one's own, so-called, there's that incredible gratitude of undeserved, it's very paradoxical, because there's no one to deserve, at the same time as the personal self seems to be dissolving, those sense or feeling of gratitude of this undeserving, I'm nobody to deserve this immensity of consciousness, or whatever you call it. Just it's the most humbling possible experience. But I guess you could call that grace too. But I think what I was getting at was looking at other people's experience. You know, the question comes like, it must be some kind of choice of consciousness to hold on or to resist, in a sense, to have this experience of being human and all its issues and problems that come with it.
Yeah, everything is the choice of consciousness. I mean, in this very moment, this particular experience right now, whatever thoughts appear to you, whatever sensations appear to you, they appear out of consciousness, within consciousness, to consciousness, and dissolve back in consciousness. So what isn't consciousness? What isn't the choice or the creation or the perception of consciousness? It all is. It all is. Even the thought or the belief that I am somebody, or I am an entity, or I'm this and or that, even that very thought and that very experience arises out of consciousness, within consciousness, to consciousness, and dissolves back in consciousness.
Yeah, I find that very reassuring that no matter the experience, it's appearing in
Yes. And what's so wonderful is the understanding that I am not an object of perception. I am not whatever it is that perceives right now. The reality that hears right now, that perceives right, is not an object that's perceived. It's not a sensation, a thought, an image, a belief, whatever.
unperceivable.
Yes, that the experiential sense of that this reality right now is absolute, is undeniable, and is not made out of ... It's not made out of thoughts, feelings, whatever, you know.
Yeah,
that is quite a wondrous shift from I, this reality being entangled in the realm of thoughts and perceptions and feelings and trying to figure this out and trying to figure it out, to being disentangled from that and just being this presence, beingness. And that's quite a wondrous disentanglement, something like that.
Thank you, Magdi. I have to run, but
yes. Okay, Rick. Nice to chat with you. Good to see you. Okay, great. Hello, Esther. You know, you probably did not. I shifted today's meeting to 12:30, so I sent a message, but maybe I'm still using your old email address. I don't know.
Okay. It's okay. I'm here now.
Okay. Yes. Nice to see you, Esther. Yes. Any questions?
No question, but thank you, Magdi. Gratitude.
Okay, Holger. Yeah, thank you all. Very lovely to be with you. And yes, Esther.
Thank you.
You are here now, and we're always here now, always. And Nathan, Eric.
Thank you, Magdi. Thank you.
Yes, and Esther and Frank. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maggie. See you soon.
Okay, see you. Be safe.